Hi, I'm here to talk to you about the 12 tools. I was asked by a parent to come and talk about the 12 tools so that they could have a resource to go back to, so that they could start using them in their home. And nothing pleases me more. Since I first started teaching the 12 tools, I have been impressed by them. So I'm super excited to come and share with you about the 12 tools. So let's just get started. What is Toolbox? Toolbox is a program designed for children. It's designed to give them the power to start solving some of their own problems, working out their own feelings and emotions, and it gives them a vocabulary. It gives them tools to be able to do that with. It's a very visual, tangible way that they can kind of rely on while they're still learning, that they actually have these tools inside of them already. So for example, if any of you were at Starbucks in line waiting for your coffee, I bet that there was a time when you just kind of felt like pushing everybody aside and just walking to the front and saying, "Can I please just have my coffee now? I've been waiting too long and I'm tired of waiting. I just want my coffee." But in reality, most of us don't do that. Most of us wait. They wait in line. That is using your patience tool. The thing is with children, sometimes those behaviors don't come naturally. They need to be taught. We don't naturally start out being patient. Instead of saying be patient, we have the ability with these tools to say, oh, we have a patience tool. When we have a hard time waiting, we can know that this patience tool will help us. It just gives them the words, and it's a great visual way to hold on to that tool and say, here it is, here is the tool. It becomes a common vocabulary. So instead of you in your moment of impatience, telling your student, will you just be patient? You can say, what tool do we need to use? What tool should we be using right now? And it gives them the words. Oh yes, we have the patience tool. So I am just going to get started. Each tool has a tagline, which is just the words. I don't call it a tagline for my students. I call it the words of the breathing tool. But the tagline or the words of the breathing tool are, I calm myself and check in. So the breathing tool is kind of the foundation of our tools, because the breathing tool is what helps us calm down. It helps keep us calm so that we're able to use some of our tools. If we're upset, it's very hard to use your tools. Every tool has a tool that represents it. So for example, the tool for the breathing tool is a tape measure. The reason we use a tape measure is because we remind our students we have to measure our breath. We can't just breathe fast. It has to be a slow breath. We have to pay attention. So the tape measure helps us to remember. There's also a hand motion, and the hand motion is very important. Sometimes the students will just come up to me and breathe. They're showing me that they know the words. But when a child is escalated, when their feelings are up, when they're upset, angry, frustrated, it is very hard for them to hear your words. They are not ready to be able to take in your words. And so using a nonverbal picture, like, just reminds them that there's a tool to be used. I don't have to say anything. I'm just breathing with you. Each tool has a tagline, a picture of the tool, and a hand motion. So the breathing tool. One of the things I remind my students is the words. The taglines are all self-talk. Self-talk is something that we can learn to tell ourselves. It's positive, it is empowering. I can do this thing. So for example, when we know how to use our breathing tool, we know I can calm myself and check in. It is our responsibility. And so I'm always reminding the students, whose job is it to calm you down? It is our job. Mom can't calm you down. Your teacher can't calm you down. You have to calm yourself down. You have to use your breathing tool. The words are, I calm myself and check in. The checking in part is the part where we actually say, or at least understand what we're feeling. If we're angry, we need to say, I feel angry. If we're sad, we need to say, I feel sad. As we start to use those feeling words, not only does your student get a chance to know he's feeling, He has words to use for it. He knows how to express it, and you know what's going on with him, so you can give him some help. So the checking in part is really important. I call myself and check in. What I remind my students, especially as they get older, is that the breathing tool isn't going to fix our problem. We still have more work to do. We have to use our tools. We have to figure out how to solve the problem. But the breathing tool just calms us down so we can think. There's a great illustration that I teach my students, and it's just really simplified that their brain comes in parts. There is a feeling part of our brain, and there's a thinking part of our brain. This is very simplified, but that's kind of how I start with them and explain that when we have an upset feeling like anger or frustration or sadness, our feeling part kind of takes over, and our thinking parts are not working when that happens. So we kind of flip our lid. When that happens, we need to calm down so that our thinking parts can start thinking again, so that we can make a good choice. When your student is really upset, very angry, very sad, they literally cannot think. They are in fight, flight, or freeze mode. They need to be able to engage that thinking part again, and that's where the breathing tool, if they can focus on their breath, if they can work on making sure they're breathing correctly, it's not just fast breathing, it's breathing in through our nose and breathing out with our mouth. Very specific, very slow, and it actually requires some concentration. But focusing on our breath will kick in the other parts of our brain, the thinking parts, and will help us to actually start thinking about what we should do next. And I often tell my students, it takes a while to calm down. Don't just breathe once or twice. Sometimes it takes 10 times. Sometimes it takes more. Keep breathing until you calm down. Don't give up. The next tool is a little bit of an abstract tool. It's easier for an older child to understand, but it's called the Quiet Safe Place tool. The words of the Quiet Safe Place tool are, I remember my quiet safe place. The tool that represents the Quiet Safe Place tool is earmuffs. And I always remind them it's not headphones, they're earmuffs. Earmuffs, quiet. They make us not be able to hear all the noise. And this is a great tool for when we are feeling overwhelmed with too much noise, too much going on, when grown-ups are arguing or having loud words, when brothers and sisters are being very loud. All of those times can overwhelm a child. When they start to get agitated or upset because of the noise that's going on around them, they can start to feel overwhelmed themselves. They take on that feeling that we have. There's two kinds of Quiet Safe Place tool. There's a real life Quiet Safe Place tool, a quiet place where they can go, maybe a closet or their bedroom or your mom's bed. Wherever it is, it's a real life quiet place where you can just go and calm down for a little while. And it's not a timeout, it's like a gift. It's a time to get away. We'll talk some more about time away, but they can also do this in their head. It's an imaginary quiet safe place. Even if you're in the middle of a shopping mall and your student is starting to get stressed out and you can kind of see it, you can tell them to close their eyes and remember a quiet safe place. It could be a happy memory or some imaginary place inside their mind. It's a great and kind of fun thing to do. Walk through what kind of places make you feel happy. As grown-ups, a lot of times we use our past memories, maybe that time when we were at the beach and there was nothing to do and we could just relax. For me, it really is my bed. I love to go and think about myself just lying down in my bed, my dog by my side, and a book ready for me to just relax. A great way to talk to your student about the Quiet Safe Place tool is to show them in 3 easy steps. Think of a place where you feel happy. Next step, picture yourself doing something that you really like there. And the last step is think about what you see, what you hear, what you can smell, or what you can feel there. All of those things will help them to visualize that quiet, safe place. The hand motion for the Quiet Safe Place is just covering your ears. And again, the tagline is, I remember my quiet, safe place. Okay, The next tool is a very practical tool. It's called the listening tool, and it's one of our tools that has to do with friendships. There are tools that help us, like the breathing tool, they help us with our emotions, but the listening tool is a friendship tool. And so the picture on the back of the listening tool is 2 fingers. If you have ever been a carpenter, in the olden days, carpenters used their fingers to tap on the wall to try to find the stud to be able to put their nail or screw in. So that is the hand motion. It's usually here by your ear, and it's a great way for you to remind your student without having to tell them, I need you to be listening. Use your listening tool. So the words of the listening tool are, I listen with my ears, eyes, and heart. And I usually add brain in there because we need our whole body to listen. I've been teaching our students that for a long time. Your whole body needs to listen. If you are fooling around with your feet, it's hard for you to listen. If you're not looking at the person, it's hard to pay close attention to what they're saying. And you should be thinking about what they're talking about. That's listening with your brain. And of course, you need to hear with your ears. It shows that you care about someone. This is a great tool for modeling. Modeling is so important for the tools. If we don't use the tools ourselves, it's going to be really hard for our students to continue to use them because it's so much easier not to. But if we stop and listen when they're looking at us and say, oh, I'm going to turn and look at you and listen with my listening tool. It is a great way for you to model to your student what it looks like when someone is using the listening tool. If you're on your phone or looking at other things while your student is talking, it's hard for them to understand that they have to listen to you when it's your turn to talk. So it's a great way to teach them what it really means to listen with intention. A lot of times when some of my students are having a conflict, first child usually came and told me about the conflict. And so I'll bring the second child over and I'll say, can you come and use your listening tool? This student wants to tell you something and I need you to use your listening tool for a few minutes. Can you do that? And they always say yes. When conflict happens, there's always someone talking and then the other needs to listen and then we switch. The next tool is the empathy tool. Empathy is a word that we are teaching our students. It's not a word we talk about a lot. Empathy just means understanding how someone else feels. And all of us have a great capacity for empathy, but it doesn't come naturally to your students. Children are concerned about their own feelings and about what's happening to them. So teaching them the word empathy means that we're teaching them how to pay attention to other people and how they feel. So the words of the empathy tool are, I care for others and I care for myself. And that's the hand motion. I care for others and I care for myself. The tool of the empathy tool is a level. And I usually go into a long explanation of how carpenters use levels to make sure that things are balanced. Door jambs, tables, whatever it is that they're working on needs to be balanced, but so do our friendships. So for example, if you care about only yourself and you don't care about your friend, so you keep talking and you're not listening to your friendship isn't balanced and your friend isn't going to feel cared about. But the same goes the other way. If you're only caring about your friend and when your friend tells you to do something that will get you in trouble and you don't care about yourself, then that's not balanced either. You have to care about yourself. Both are important. I care for others and I care for myself. And how do we understand how people feel? So we will walk through that. We'll walk through looking at people's faces, looking at their body language, listening to what they say. All those are ways that you can help your child to understand how someone feels. I love to show a picture of a student sitting by himself on a steps, kind of like this one, because every single student can understand what that student feels like. They will all tell me people didn't play with them. People made them feel left out. They understand that feeling. And so I will tell them, wow, you do understand. You have empathy for this student because you know how he feels. You felt that way before too. So it's not a hard concept, but it does require a little training. So there we go, the empathy tool. So the next tool after that is the personal space tool. The personal space tool is another friendship tool. The tool we use for the personal space tool is yarn. It's a ball of yarn. The way that I demonstrate the personal space tool is I will either use a hula hoop or a piece of yarn that I've actually put into a circle around me. So the hand motion is either holding that yarn like this and saying the personal space tool, or just like this. So the words are, I have my personal space and so do you. Personal space is invisible, so it takes a while for certain students to understand what personal space is. Obviously, we don't walk around with yarn or hula hoops around us, even though some of us wish we could. The thing is that personal space is very personal. There are those students who don't have any problems being very close together. They don't have a problem with personal space. They just love being in everybody's space. And then there's those people out in the world who are like, please give me my space. You're too close to me. Everybody has their own feeling about space and how important it is. Obviously, with your family, personal space is not such a big deal. A lot of us do get close together, and that's completely normal. But being out with strangers or even being at school, we have to respect other people's space. So we talk a lot about personal space in lines. We talk about personal space in around our desk, when we're all sitting on the carpet, even when we're on the playground. There are times when we need to respect personal space. And being able to give students those words, oh, excuse me, I need some personal space, gives them the voice that they need when someone is making them uncomfortable. It gives them assertiveness and confidence to be able to say that, you know what, my space is my own, and it's okay for me to say, please give me some personal space. And we also talk a lot about keeping our hands to ourselves when we talk about personal space. There's a lot of tools that connect to other tools. And one of the tool connections for the personal space tool is the using our words tool and the courage tool. It takes a lot for students to learn to be assertive. So teaching them that they're allowed to use their words is a great way to connect those tools. I love telling my students, wow, I'm amazed. You just used 2 tools at the same time. That's pretty good. They love to hear that. Okay, so let's go to the using our words tool. The picture on the back of our using words tool is a pencil. So the tool is a pencil, and the hand motion is pretending like we're writing in air. The words are, I use the right words in the right way. The second part is usually an echo. When after I've taught this a few times, I can come in and say, I use the right words, and my student will finish in the right way. Just using the right words is not enough. We need to say them in a voice that is respectful and kind. So we get to talk a lot about using our words, using the right tone of voice, and again, modeling it. So for example, this is a great way to model. If we have made a mistake, and I have made plenty with my students where I raised my voice, I have a chance at this moment to model by saying, gosh, I did not use my words in the right way. I'm going to change that, and I would like to say it better. So I want to use my using my words tool. I want to use the right words in the right way. So I think I'm going to change my words, and I'm going to say them this way. When we apologize to our students and show them that we too are learning about the tools and we're trying really hard to do them, we all make mistakes. We all have moments where we raise our voice or get upset. And we want our students to understand that we understand that it's hard work to do these things. So this is a great way to model. Using our words is a great tool to help you not tattle. So I have so many students that come to me on the yard and they come and tell me, that boy over there was pushing me, or whatever it is that they did. And I often tell them, what did you say? And they said, nothing. I didn't say anything. I'm here telling you. And I said, oh, well, let's go tell them. That's not okay. That hurt your feelings. Let's go tell them. And that's when I bring in that other student and I say, hey, come here, friend. This student has something they need to say to you. And so we model, again, we give them those opportunities to use their words in the right way. And they've already given them the words. I don't like that. Please stop it. Or I don't like that. That hurt my feelings. All of those are words that our students need to know, and they don't naturally know them. It's just not natural for them, but they're learning and they're able to start using those words so that they can tell someone else to stop doing what they don't like. But when a student does come to tattle that someone has been bothering them, but the student now is engaged in another activity and no longer bothering them, the student still wanted me to know that they were bothering them. So rather than going into like, okay, well, let's go get that student in trouble, I will say, wow, how did you make them stop? And they said, well, I told them to stop it. And I said, you used your tools. Way to go. And I'll give them a high five or a fist bump and tell them that is what we did. We used our tool. We used our words. And they're just so surprised that they already handled the problem. The problem is over because they used their words. I love doing that. And it takes a little time, but if you can continue to use these kind of ways to show your student that they can solve their own problems, it will cut down a little on that tattling. But they do also need to learn how to be assertive. Talking too quietly or being too aggressive is not using our words in the right way. We need to speak in respectful terms, kind words, and powerful words, words that we're not afraid to say. But again, that takes practice. Another tool connection would be with the breathing tool. I often remind my students that when we're angry or upset, it's hard to use our words in the right way. That's when we might yell. So sometimes we need to breathe before we use our words so that we can make sure that our words are kind and respectful. Oh, the garbage can tool. Now this is a fabulous tool. Okay, so the tagline for the garbage can tool is, I let the little things go. And the hand motion is that. It's kind of putting your hand on your hip and throwing away the little things. The tool is a garbage can. Students sometimes get upset over very little things. We all do. I know I've been very guilty of this. Sometimes it's little things, but they make me so upset. Students don't know to ask themselves, is this a big problem or a little problem? Big problems are problems that put us in danger or that can hurt us. Medium-sized problems are things that we still need to talk about and do something about. Maybe we need to talk to a teacher or an adult to get some help. Maybe we need to use our words. Those are big enough problems that we need to do something about. But there are little problems. Some problems are so little that we don't need to do anything about them. We can just let them go. One of the hardest things for them is allowing other students to get in front of them at line. Is an endless source of agitation. That person cut in front of me, or that person is too close. So definitely we need to use our words. But it's also okay to say, you know what, this isn't that big a problem. Let's let it go. There's a lot of times when we make a big deal about things. So this is again a wonderful time for us to model that, wow, maybe this wasn't such a big problem and I can let it go. I love to tell the students that this is the Elsa tool because of course Elsa sings Let It Go and they know that. So it gives them another reminder about the garbage can tool. When someone has said mean words once or twice, I'm not talking about a bullying situation where someone is saying mean words every day. That is different. That's a big problem. But when someone has had a moment of anger or frustration and they said something that wasn't so nice, it's okay for us to tell them, I don't like those words. That hurt my feelings. But afterwards, I remind our students that you don't have to let those words go in your brain and you don't have to keep those words in your heart. We throw those mean words in the garbage can instead of putting them in our heart and putting them in our mind because we don't want to carry around mean words. So of course it's important for your student to say something, to use some of their other tools like using our words tool. I didn't like those words. Please don't say them again. Or that really hurt my feelings. But not every situation is a bullying situation. And sometimes people say mean things and they need to be corrected. So we use our words and then we still throw those mean words in the garbage can because I want our students to know that they don't have to carry those words around with them. So it's a balancing act, but it definitely is a way to use the garbage can tool. The last thing about the garbage can tool is that once we have dealt with a situation, so for example, if a student has come forward and had a conflict with another student, and we talked to that student and we dealt with that already, we throw it in the garbage can and we're ready to move on. We don't take things out of the garbage can again. Ew. That's what I tell our students. I'm like, we don't get stuff out of the garbage can again. We leave it in the garbage can. So hopefully we don't have that same conflict coming up again and again. And sometimes even the student got consequences, but then they'll go tell another adult, this happened, and it's basically starting all over again. So once we put something in the garbage can and we've dealt with this problem, to leave it in the garbage can. The next tool is the taking time tool. The taking time tool is represented by a watch, and the hand motion is tapping a watch and saying, I take time in and time away. It's basically taking a break, taking a time. It's a pause button. It's very much like a timeout, except you don't give it to them, they give it to themselves. And I try to remind them that it's a gift. This is a time for us to get away and think about what's happening. Maybe I need to think about how I'm feeling right now. Maybe I need to think about what I did. Or maybe I need to think about what I need to say to someone. Maybe I need to say some words to somebody. It gives me a pause so I can think about things without making a mistake. The other part is the time away. A time away is to take a break when someone is making us very, very upset and we know that we are about to use some mean words or do something that will get us in trouble. It's great to just use our powerful legs and get away from this situation and take a time away. Teachers often will give students a time away when they just need a break. They're having a hard time in class and their feelings are starting to get escalated and they're just needing that minute to calm it down, to go outside, to use their breathing tool, to use a fidget to calm down, to do some exercise, or even take a drink of water. Something that will take them out of that feeling for a moment so that they can distract their mind, get those thinking parts engaged again. Also, it gives us a chance to think about what our part of the problem is. Every problem has two parts. And so it's important for our students to know that taking a time in or a time away is a great time to figure out what was my part and what can I do to fix my part. The please and thank you tool. The words of the please and thank you tool are, I treat others with kindness and appreciation, and the tool is a key. Most of us learned how to say please and thank you when we were babies, very, very young. And our students will say the same. I learned that when I was little. But how easy it is for us to forget. I forget a lot. And so helping them to understand how important it is a great thing. I also tell them that it makes such a big difference on how people respond to us. So for example, I want to ask for something. Saying please actually makes them want to say yes to me. If I don't say please and I ask in a demanding way, their heart just kind of stays closed up. It doesn't open to me. They're not wanting to do something nice, but when I say please or thank you, it opens their heart and they actually want to say yes more often. There's no guarantees, but it's nice when we ask in a nice way. Okay, so the next tool is the apology and forgiveness tool. The words of the apology and forgiveness tool are, I admit my mistakes and work to forgive yours. The tool is glue. So obviously we're gluing ourselves back together. I tell my students that when we have arguments or conflicts with our friends, we kind of get broken up and we don't want to be stuck together like glue. We're kind of angry with each other. But if we can admit it, I admit my mistakes, if we can admit our parts, it's really a help so that the other student wants to admit their part. Then when they apologize, we still have to do our part and forgive. Sometimes the apology is easier than the forgiving. Some students can hold a grudge for a long time and stay very angry, but that just hurts them. So I remind them that when we can say, I am sorry and I forgive you, we get together like glue again. We can be friends and not be broken up. It is not easy for students to forgive. It's not easy for them to apologize, and it's not easy for them to see their part in a situation. This takes time and effort for them to be able to understand that they had a part in things too. It is hard work, but it's one of the most valuable tools we have. The patience tool. So the patience tool is an excellent tool. It's kind of what I referenced at the beginning. It is hard to wait for things. During morning traffic, when I used to drop off my kids for school, it was so hard to wait in that line. And sometimes my temper would get agitated as I watched people not being thoughtful, taking too long to drop off their kids or whatever. I was in a hurry and I was thinking about myself. The words of the patience tool are, I am strong enough to wait. The tool is a wood plane. It's not a tool we use a lot, but I explain to students what it does. It starts to shave off wood and it smooths down the wood, but it takes a long time. So this is the hand motion to the patience tool. It is about taking a long time and using that tool. The words, I am strong enough to wait, are such great self-talk to remind your students because they don't think they have the patience to wait. They know that waiting is not fun. But we tell them over and over, but you're strong, you can do this. I am strong enough to wait. It's like a muscle. That's a great way to explain to your students that it gets better and better. If you use this muscle, it gets stronger. Every time you have to wait for things and you wait in a calm, quiet way, it helps you to get stronger and better at waiting. Waiting is part of life. It's one of those things that everybody has to learn. What's really nice about the patience tool is it's another wonderful tool for modeling. When you are waiting in that line, when you are feeling frustrated about waiting, it's a great way to say, wow, I need to use my patience tool because I'm getting frustrated. I don't feel like waiting, but I am strong enough to wait. I guess I'll just keep waiting. Using that modeling is a great way for your students to know that when we have our patience tool, it helps us. Both this one and the tool that's coming up, it's great for them to be able to see the tool and say to ourselves, when we don't feel like we can wait, the patience tool helps us wait. It gives them words to the fact that this is inside them. They do have the strength to wait, but it has to be worked out. They need that muscle to get stronger. Sometimes we don't like to make our children have to wait for things, but every time they have an opportunity to wait, it makes them stronger. So you might want to add those experiences in there on purpose. You can design ways to help them use this muscle. You can say, oh, can you use your patience tool while I get the cookie out? Can you use your patience tool for video game time until you're done with your schoolwork? Can you use your patience tool until dinner time? It's just a wonderful word to start adding to your vocabulary so that they can understand that they have these triumphs. And a lot of times when they have been waiting patiently, I love to tell them, thank you so much for using your patience tool. I can see that you've been using it because you've been waiting in a calm, quiet way. I love the patience tool. For those students who have a hard time with their day, their school day feels too long, they can use their patience tool to remind themselves, okay, I have the patience to wait until lunch. And now I have the patience to wait till last recess. And I have the patience to wait until it's time to go home. Patience tool is an excellent tool. All right, guys, thank you for sticking with me. Now we're on our last tool, which is the courage tool. The words of the courage tool are, I have the courage to do the right thing. And the hand motion is tapping your chest. I have the courage to do the right thing. The tool that represents the courage tool is a light. It's kind of like a drop light, but any light will do because a light guides us in the dark. When we're in the dark, we're a little scared of that, and kids understand being afraid of the dark. So when we turn on a light, we're often able to see that there really wasn't anything to be afraid of. We were safe. We were just in the dark. So that's why a light is our represented tool. When we turn on the light, we're able to see that things are going to be okay. So I have the courage to do the right thing. Again, for students who struggle with staying at school all day, it gives them the opportunity to know that this is the right thing to do. They are safe at school. They need that courage tool. They need courage to tell the truth. when they feel like they're going to get in trouble. They need courage to admit when they were wrong and maybe use their apology and forgiveness tool. They need courage to use their words when they feel shy or afraid to tell someone that they need them to stop it or they don't like what's going on. We need courage to stand up against a bully, tell an adult that we need some help. These are all things that we need the courage tool for. So kids really understand needing the courage tool. I try to keep a couple of extra courage tools on my own lanyard because sometimes if I can let the students just use my courage tool and they can hold on to it, it gives them courage. That's what I mean by this is a very tangible way for them to understand that they can use these tools. They don't know that these tools are already inside them, but holding on to the tool, seeing the picture, understanding that they can hold the tool in their hand gives them a great way to know that they can use the courage tool. And as they get stronger at using the courage tool, they start to realize they don't have to have the courage tool to help them use it. As your students get older, peer pressure will become a real issue. I mean, it's definitely around in elementary school, but we know that it is going to get stronger and stronger as they get older in both junior high and high school. So giving them the knowledge that they have the courage to tell someone no when they don't want to do something, and pairing that with the empathy tool, I care for myself and I care for others, gives them the courage to stand up to some of that peer pressure. They need to start using those words, courage. I have the courage to do the right thing, so that they can start making those good choices even now. How can you as a parent or as a teacher support Toolbox? One of the best ways is to learn the language. Learn all the names of the tools, and instead of just saying, will you please be patient, asking your student, what are the words of the patience tool again? I am strong enough to wait. It gives them that opportunity to use the self-talk that says, I am strong enough to wait. It empowers them to do that, and it gives them the reminder of the language, the vocabulary, modeling. Modeling in your classroom or when you're at home is going to be one of your greatest tools for helping your students learn how to use these tools. When they see you do it, when you've made a mistake and not used your tools, it is going to go so far if you remind yourself, oops, I didn't use my breathing tool and I was getting upset. I need to use my breathing tool so I can calm down. Just using that kind of language with your student will help to normalize these words and help them to realize that we all need these tools. It's especially important with your older students. A lot of times your older students are going to be thinking, well, okay, little kids need the breathing tool, but I'm a big kid, so I don't really need that stuff. But reminding them that I use it all the time really helps them to know. And I tell the older students, you don't have to use your hands like this. You just breathe. Nobody has to tell. It's just like a ninja breath. Nobody knows you're using it, but it is calming you down. We can all struggle with anxiety, fear, anger at any age. And these tools will help anybody at any age. Help your students make connections in real time. I can teach these tools to your student, but if you're having it happen when they're upset, when you're upset, and we start to use these tools in real time, it is really going to make sense to them, and they're going to see them in action. And then put it on them. Ask them, what tools should we use here? Can you show me? Also, tell your student that they need to teach you the tools, because you didn't know the tools and you didn't learn them when you were a child. It gives them great strength to be able to teach you what they've been learning. Thank you so much for listening, and use your tools.